Why is Synyster Gates the best guitar player in metal? Are you sure he's the best guitar player? What's up guys, and welcome to this month's episode of #AskTUGGtv. Now this is the show where we take your questions and answer them to the best of our abilities. Now if you guys have any questions for us, make sure to hit us up in the comments down below. So let's get started.
Suddenly feel my Focusrite Scarlet solo interface is showing pretty low gain input signal from my guitar. Like I've turned it up on the preamp almost full to get the green light popping. Could it be that my pickup battery has died out or something else? Generally, the gain that you get is sort of looked at and is kind of dependent on your audio interface itself. But if you say that, it was alright earlier and now it isn't, can probably start by checking off the boxes in terms of what, could be potential problems. Start by changing the battery, see if that solves your problem. If that doesn't, perhaps you could look at the cable. Maybe something's wrong with that. Again, these are cheap sort of replacements, so you can do them quickly. If it's not fixing your problem, maybe you can look at the output. Something's wrong over there. If your interface has multiple outputs, try out other outputs and see if the problem persists. And yeah, if nothing is fixing that problem, might just be your audio interface.
How loud is an average 15 watt amp? Is it possible to gig with it? So coming down to the smaller 15 watt amp, well, these are something which is very similar to the one which I have here. Now these amps are pretty much made for you guys to kind of practice at home and say in smaller spaces. And well, considering these scenarios, well, the 15 watt amp is loud enough to get you by. But when it comes to the matter of gigging with it, there are a couple of things that you have to think about. Now, if you're somebody who's going to play a solo set, well, the 15 watt amp is pretty decent enough to say cover an audience of say 50 to 100. But then if there are more instruments involved, you might need to think about something a bit more bigger. Another thing to keep in mind is that most of the places which actually have, say, a live setup usually do mic up most of the amplifiers. So usually the venue would pretty much mic up your amplifier if the place is, say, reasonably big. So going back to the basics, if you're looking for an amp for busking or playing a smaller venue or a single instrument for that matter, a 15 watt amp for a reasonably sized place is, well, pretty acceptable.
How to match a band's tone? I mean, by matching, if you mean come close to, there are some ways, but if you're looking for 100% replication, I'm going to set the right expectations, probably not going to happen. You can sort of look at, for example, VSTs to replicate a signal chain, which could help you come close, to the artist's tone. You can use various other, mixing and mastering techniques and softwares and a little bit of trial error to get the mix that you want going. But for the most part, every artist is unique. The way they play their instrument, the way they pick their instrument is very, very different. Drummers, each one of them have their own set of intensity and styles. And not to forget, wherever they recorded, there was a particular environment. And kind of replicating that environment may not really happen. So can you come close to it? Yeah, use VSTs, replicate the signal chain. But are you going to match it 100%?
Where did you get all those CDs? Well, when it comes to my collection of CDs, this has been something which I've been building up for, say, the past 12 years or so. Now, back in the day, there were quite a lot of shops where you can just walk in, browse your whole collection and see whichever you wanted for yourself and pick it up. But in the past few years, sourcing out CDs has become really, really difficult. Considering the situation in India, Amazon does have a decent collection, but well, you don't get all the CDs what you're looking for. You pretty much have to keep going through the catalog and trying to see if any new ones have been added or anything has been put on sale so that you can actually afford it. Now, speaking about Amazon, if there were any friends or colleagues who are actually traveling down from other countries, I would actually order it in the Amazon of their particular country and pretty much beg them to kind of come back and give it to me. With all of this said, there are still a couple of places where you can source out CDs like I do. You can pretty much check out Mahotaba stores or say Metal Masala and all of these things for gaining access to few CDs as well. How does it feel to go from a 6-string to an 8-string? So coming to my experience about shifting to an 8-string guitar, initially it did kind of feel a bit weird because of the 2 extra strings. It takes a bit of time for your mind to pretty much understand that the nearest available string is not the E. Also now there's quite a lot of area on the fretboard for you to cover, so you kind of need to alter your playing style as well. But with all that said, if you kind of put in a couple of hours of playing around with it, you do kind of get accustomed to it. Now, although in theory it's just the addition of 2 strings, these kind of do bring about a lot more of different dynamics to your playing skills. Oh, and one more thing that you guys absolutely need to keep in mind. When you shift your work to an 8 strings, you kinda need to get a bit more precise with your muting techniques. Now, due to the fact that your strings are tuned really low, there is every possibility of a slight scrape of your palm, which kind of gets your strings vibrating, and this kind of adds a lot more of noise when you're recording it.
So unlike 6 to 7, which might feel a little more natural, if you decide to go 6 to 8, number 1, the actual size of the fretboard, because it's wider to accommodate more strings. Number 2, the overall thickness of the neck. And number 3, string spacing. Now, depending on you, you might actually prefer this or not. But if you're moving from a 6, if you've been playing a 6 for a very long time and you are jumping onto an 8 stringer, these are 3 things that is going to feel a little unusual for some time, but you can get with it. I want to play lead guitar, but from where do I begin? Joey, I think what worked really well for me is learning the scales and modes. That's something I practice every day. Apart from the fact that, you are going to have to practice if you want to improve. One thing that helped me in terms of my playing is I sort of did this course on Udemy, which is called Relationships. It's by Trey Xavier from Gear Gods. You can check that out. I think it's a really, really good course and sort of very easily gets you with the scales and modes. The other thing you might want to look at, especially if you're getting into like shredding stuff and all of that, look at your right hand picking technique, because sometimes that might be what's slowing you down. At least in my case it was. The third point I'd make is, honestly, don't overthink it. There must be some songs you enjoy, covering. Pick a couple of covers, start off with some simple solos, and just try your hand at it, because there are things that you would understand in your own method, and no matter how much someone explains it to you, you'd only get it when you do it. So try your hand at it.
What do you guys think about the Cort X300? Talking about Cort guitars, well, these instruments are something which gives you the value for the money that you put in. And well, coming to the X300, well, it looks amazing and the specifications are pretty awesome as well. Now, the addition of the EMG pickups does kind of give you the cherry on top of it. Now, I have personally played this guitar a couple of times and well, it plays amazingly well. Now, the only gripe that I have about these guitars is that I've heard a few people complaining that the Floyd special bridge does kind of tend to corrode at times. Now, as long as you're taking care of your instrument and kind of maintaining it in, say, a neutral environment, I think it should be pretty fine. So if you're somebody who's considering the X300 as your next axe, well, go for it.
Are Diodario nylon strings worth it? Alright, so my cousin plays nylon string guitar and I did get him the Diodario Classic Nylon series. I think it's called the EJ27N. Now, I don't own a nylon string guitar, but whatever little I've played on his guitar, it's pretty decent. They are a little more expensive as compared to, normal acoustic steel strings, but they have a nice ring to it because this particular, model of strings that I suggested has a silver plating, so it has a little bit of that nice ring, but at the same time, the higher strings are fully nylon, and yeah, I think sounds pretty good. And if you're looking for that for your nylon string guitar, I'd say go for it. Thoughts on PRS guitars, can they metal? Answering the second part of that question, Mark Tremonti uses it, Mark Holocomb uses it from Periphery, Dusty Waring between the Buried and Me, so I see absolutely no reason why you can't use a PRS for metal. In terms of the brand itself, I think it's a really, really good guitar manufacturer. They make some amazing guitars. It is on the expensive side over here in India, but if you ask me, I think they kind of justify the price tag. So yeah, great guitars. If you're looking for one and if you can afford it, go for it, bro.
Okay, I'm somebody who loves the PRS guitars. These things are amazingly awesome to play on and they have that distinctive look when you see them. No matter who the artist is or when you actually see them, it's pretty evident from the first sight if they're using a PRS guitar. And well, coming to the question of are they metal? Well, absolutely. Think about it. There are quite a lot of metal artists who are actually using the PRS guitars and more focused towards the new metal scene. Now, back in the day, if you're somebody who played new metal, you pretty much had an obligation to have a PRS guitar. Oh yeah, keep in mind that this was with the established bands, not with anybody who's starting up. But yeah, the guitars by themselves sound amazingly awesome, and well, you can pretty much use them to anything what you want to play. Artwork on electric guitars. Okay, coming to having artwork done on your particular guitar, there are a couple of ways of going about this. The first one is actually a stenciled sticker approach. Now this is something wherein you can pretty much get a few designs what you want, get it up to scale, go to a nearby sticker store. Yeah, and when I'm talking about sticker store, here in India we have quite a lot of automobile stores which kind of handle vinyl stickering. These would be the perfect guys to go to because it's pretty much inexpensive when you get it done from them. So once you guys have the stickers to your specifications, you guys can put it up on your guitar and add a layer of wax or say even a clear coat on top of it. Another method of achieving artwork on your guitar is actually going by the airbrushing method. So this is a situation wherein the body of your guitar pretty much acts as a blank canvas. And if you're somebody who's good with airbrush artwork, well, the guitar is going to come out really amazing. Now last but not the least, we have an approach which is quite crude but then can kind of give you really good results as well. And this is the whole DIY method when you pick up a paintbrush, you pick up the paint which you want, and then well, you paint the guitar by yourself. Now do keep in mind, considering the type of paint what you use, you might actually kind of get the body a bit, say, uneven, bumpy, etc. Now under these conditions, as I mentioned before, you can pretty much have a wax layer on top of it or actually give a clear coat to kind of even out the whole body of your guitar. So if you're somebody who's customized your guitar, we'd love to check them out. So hit us up on any of our social media platforms, like tag us in those pictures. We'd love to see what kind of artwork you guys have on your guitars.
Best free drum VST. I've done a lot of videos in the past, and in my opinion, I think the best platform which is free and is a good sort of drum VST is MT Power Drum Kit 2. You can check out any of our videos linked in the description. However, I am sort of doing a little bit of playing around with this new one called Razun Jamsticks. I'm gonna probably play around with it and let you know what I think about it. But yeah, it's MT Power Drum Kit 2, or if you're feeling adventurous, check out Razun Jamsticks. Let me know what you think.
How do I buy 8-string guitar pickups without selling my dad's car? Okay, quite honestly, this was a huge problem for me till just say a few months ago. Now from the past couple of years, I was literally searching heaven and hell for pickups to kind of replace in my RG8. Literally none of the sources that I talked to actually had stock of any pickups or well even could actually get the 8-string pickups. And all of this changed when I randomly happened to come across an OLX ad wherein a guy was selling these pickups. Now these are the Ludgren M8 on the bridge and the Diamazio Tony Abbasi signatures on the neck. Now Aditya, if you're watching this, thanks a lot for selling these pickups. So my advice to you would be to keep checking out all the retail platforms, maybe Amazon.com as well. Sometimes you do find sellers who are ready to ship it to India, but well, a bit of fees obviously. And if you're lucky enough like me, you might find something on the used market which will be perfect for you. What do you guys think of the band Skyharbor? So coming to Skyharbor, I know these guys are a bunch of really talented musicians, but well, I kinda never connected with them on a musical level. Now I've heard a couple of albums from these guys and they're really good musicians, they're good at what they do, but I kind of never got into that music. Now for all the listeners who are not aware of who Skyharbor is, well, they're a collaborative band from India and US. Now these guys play progressive metal and kind of been around in the scene for the past 8 to 10 years. Now for anyone who's actually not heard of the band, I would urge you not to take my opinion to heart and pretty much go and check out the band and see if, it's something that you guys would actually enjoy. And with that, we come to the end of another episode of #AskTUGGtv. If you're somebody who's new to the channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button and the bell icon. Now we deal with a lot of videos all the way from experiments to original content and a few funny ones as well. Now if you guys have any other questions for us, make sure you hit us up on any of our social media platforms or on the comments down below as well. And as always, stay safe and stay metal.